that begs the question as we bring to LeBron. Why go out west? Why leave Cleveland? People say that Griffin, that city. They say, well, maybe he should go to Philadelphia. Maybe he should talk to Boston or somewhere else. The Lakers seem to be where everybody has honed in on. Is it fair and is it right to think that they are the clear favorites, in your opinion, in the LeBron sweepstakes?
Well, I think other than Cleveland, they're certainly the clear favorite. Right. I don't think there's a great deal of likelihood that he ends up somewhere other than one of those two places. But I think a big part of the reason for that is that look back at when he came back to Cleveland in the first place, in 2014. He came to us fully a year before we really thought he would. Our assumption was he was going to play out that year and take a look at our front office group and see if we were able to build the type of thing that would attract him, build the type of group that would attract him. And he came in advance largely because he was coming home. Let's not kid ourselves. But also because we were able to sell the package of what we can do now to compete. And so it's going to be incumbent upon the Los Angeles Lakers, Rob Pelinka and Magic Johnson, to sell the package of this is what it looks like if you buy in now, and this is where we can potentially go. LeBron is a guy who believes his presence alone makes you a finals contender. Right. And he knows it because he did it for us. We went from 4 straight lotteries, right? We were in 4 straight lotteries. He comes, it's time to win a championship. And there's no in between. So I think in his situation, what you're really going to be paying attention to is it's not necessarily where you are today. It's can you get us where we need to go by the end of the season? And what vehicles can you use to do that? And you have to lay it out very clearly because above all things, and you know this, LeBron's a basketball savant. And he's going to know if those pieces fit or don't fit.
Yeah, I want to get into the domino effect because, as you pointed out to open the show, D.A., it's not just LeBron. Kawhi, there are other factors involved. But let's talk money for a second. And I want to talk about the max potential of what LeBron can earn here when we look at his deal, whether or not he takes 5 or 4 years. And talk about it from the extent of Cleveland and where they fit in. Because the Cavs fan is hoping that, hey, look, our ability maybe to give him more money was going to give us an opportunity regardless of the roster.
Yeah, and again, this gets to the point that DA was making, right? It's not about the money in this situation.
Not with him.
You're talking about a difference of almost $50 million, right? But it doesn't sway the balance. When you are a brand of your own, when you are as iconic as he is, that money isn't what's going to sway the balance for you. Now, he's one of very few players that this is true of. And this is the other thing that I think has changed very quickly. The landscape has changed so quickly. Signature shoe players have different rules than players that are not under that banner. Steph Curry's reality, radically different now with Under Armour in the picture.
And Harden.
So, so that changes everything profoundly for free agency. What used to be a significant amount of money really isn't. And then you factor into it that we have never adjusted for taxation across the country. The league has never built in the ability to fix that, which I think is a grave error. If you are in a small market, it matters immeasurably that you cannot do that.
And owners, I mean, those small market owners are just, this is just devastating to teams in small markets, small revenue markets, I should say. Because this was supposed to be the great equalizer. That 5th year was supposed to be the great equalizer because there's no way somebody's going to take $40 million less to play than they're going to play for my team. That was supposed to fix everything.
Right, competitive balance.
Yes,
right?
That was supposed to keep star players where they are, right? And so we saw, not only did we see players say, I'm not sure I want to stay here, we saw teams. We saw Sacramento with DeMarcus Cousins go, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to pay it.
But think of how this compounds on itself. In addition to that, a player who is not a signature shoe player, for whom $50 million could potentially sway the balance, you're adding to it, they can potentially play in a state with no state tax. That in and of itself makes that money back up. It's absurd that this has not been addressed.
Right.
And it hasn't been addressed because it's been such a gold rush for the league. and everyone is able to spend at such a high level,
Yeah.
and you feel like your bandwidth is almost unlimited until you run up against Golden State in the finals and you realize that's a financial flamethrower.
Right.
Their per game, every finals game, was more than double ours in Cleveland. They're not playing the same game as everyone else.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with the people at home who were thinking, $50 million? Pretty sure I'll go anywhere. North Dakota, do they have a team? Right there, no offense to anybody in North Dakota. Let's go to Eric Pincus. Show me the money, as they say. Eric, tell me about LeBron and the Cavs here.
Well, if he leaves the Cavaliers, the problem that they have is that they don't really have the means to improve their team without making trades. They don't have any cap room. If LeBron stays, they're in the tax, so they're limited. So then it becomes, can you get value back for guys like J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson? Probably your best piece is Kevin Love, or really that Colin Sexton pick that they just made. Is that enough to give LeBron a reason to stay? Can they get that done in the next couple of days, right? How do you make this happen when he's going to go and he's going to talk to the Lakers? He'll talk to maybe just the Lakers, and we'll see where he goes. Now, as far as the Lakers are concerned, they'll do whatever they want, and they've made that clear unofficially and non-tampering-ish, that they will do whatever it takes, right? So they traded away D'Angelo Russell last year. They traded away Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance. They opened up the space, so if LeBron needs someone to come with, they can get 2 max guys. They have a way, it's very difficult, to get 3 if they can trade for Kawhi Leonard and do something crazy. Paul George, LeBron James. There's all these pie-in-the-sky ideas, but, I mean, that's what they're sitting around in their offices in El Segundo and trying to figure out. And if that doesn't happen, and if LeBron's willing to come, they have the flexibility to make trades. If they don't get a Paul George, if they don't get a Kawhi Leonard, the next year, there's a lot of free agents. You got Kyrie, reunite the guys, bring them back together. LeBron and Kyrie, does it happen? I don't think so, but a strange world. So the Lakers are in a flexible position. They'll do whatever LeBron wants. And to Griff's point, he's the superstar of superstars probably right now in all sports. And you just got to do what he wants to get that player on your team.
Eric, I think one of the things that's interesting that you hit on just now, and it was, I think, resonated with me. First of all, you coined a phrase I'm going to steal for certain. You said non-tampering-ish, which I thought was exceptional.
Thank you.
But I've said for quite a while now, and we've talked about it here, DA and I have talked about it even during trade deadline show, the way the league is now and the way things are happening in terms of superstars wanting to come together, you almost can't dream big enough as a team trying to consolidate those players. What do the Lakers need to do to really create this space to have 2 or even 3 high-level free agents together there now?
Well, they've already got the room almost for LeBron and Paul George. They have Luol Deng's contract, which is unfortunate. It's been an issue, and it cost Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak their jobs functionally. And so what they can do is they could trade him to a team like, say, Atlanta, that maybe they're not in a win-now mode, and you give them a couple of picks or something like that, give them some $5 million in cash, et cetera, make it worth their while. There's 3 or 4 teams that are going to just wait for a team to look to dump something that they don't want. And Luol Deng fits that category. Nice guy, by the way, a great veteran, but at this point, he shouldn't be on the Lakers. And so if they trade him, then they've got the room. Now, if they can work a trade where he's part of, you add in Brandon Ingram, and you send Luol Deng, maybe the Spurs will take him, probably not. Maybe you send him to Atlanta. Brandon Ingram, one of their best young prospects, you send to San Antonio. Maybe that gets you Kawhi. You're almost in range, a little bit short of LeBron and Paul George, maybe by $1 million or $2 million. And Griff, you said that LeBron won't take a penny less, so now you're asking Paul George to take a little bit of a haircut. We'll see how it all comes together. They put themselves in the right position, which is really what it is. You just have to be at the table. They can stretch Luol Deng if they need to, if they only get 2 stars. Stretch means that you pay him out over 5 years, and what that does is opens up the money, so you don't have to rely on Atlanta to take him. What if Atlanta says no? What if the Spurs say no? What if no team will take Luol Deng? Then you stretch him out over 5 years. You still have enough money to get LeBron James and Paul George. So there's a lot of flexibility, and that's what Rob Pelinka, that's what Magic Johnson have preached. I work out of Los Angeles. I cover the Lakers, and flexibility is their main point. And Griff, they've been dreaming really big, probably bigger than they should, but at the same time, it's a new NBA. You've got to reach for the stars.
You know what? I know we got to go to break real soon, but if maybe we can do this after the break, but I want to get back to Eric's point and to your point about what happens in the East. Because there's teams in the East. We know Boston and Philly are the two best teams in the East if LeBron leaves, right? We all accept that. There's a whole bunch of teams on that second level, on that next level. Toronto, Washington, Milwaukee. What do those teams do?
Indiana,
right? What do those teams do? Because we've already heard, and I think, and it's true, that, you know, Toronto's basically said, nobody's untouchable on our roster anymore. So what do those teams that are those 44 to 48, 49, 50 win teams, and Toronto won 59, I know, but what I'm saying is they're not as good as Cleveland. That was proven. But without LeBron there, are they as good as Philadelphia or Boston?
No, probably not.
Probably not. But what do? Because the East is open. And if you are thinking big, as you said, you can't think big enough. And these are teams that have star players. Indiana's got Oladipo, who's become a star player, you know, and Miles Turner. They got a whole bunch of really good role players. We know Washington's still got Wall and Beal, and Porter's a pretty good third option. We know Toronto's got 2 All-Stars in their backcourt, and they've got the best bench in the league. I think. So do you go all in? Do you say we're not going to play it safe? We're going to go all in and get that third guy that could make a difference? Or are you happy winning 44 games?
You know, I want to throw one thing at you before we break, too, just because we're going to talk about so many other names. The domino effect.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
Normally in free agency, whether you're dealing in baseball or this sport, the top guy goes, sets the market, everybody can kind of follow, so you never see that second or third tier guy go. Here, because Kawhi, which is through the trade vehicle, not even through a signing, is a big part of it. How does this work as a GM? Does the first move have to be even Kawhi figuring things out, Griff, before we get to what happens with LeBron?
I'm fascinated by the LeBron situation because they've been very vocal about wanting to make a decision quickly.
Sure.
And in reality, that seems very complicated to me because you don't really know what you're buying into yet.
Right.
I would think if any of his years were going to take a while, it would be this one.
Right.
Because the dust has to settle on the Paul George conversation. The Kawhi situation obviously needs to set itself up a little bit in terms of what the future might look like.
Right.
So there's so many questions at play. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for LeBron to come to the conclusion that this is where he wants to commit. But all of this leads me to this as well. There's one player that you can look at as being an incredibly high-value free agent target that LeBron James has been vocal in the past about believing in, and it's Boogie Cousins. And if everyone is waiting on Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, there's a possibility that what gets it done in L.A. is pairing Boogie with LeBron. Because that is a player that LeBron believes a great deal in. So if he can buy into the fact that Boogie's recovery from injury and his rehab is on schedule, that even by January he'll be the Boogie Cousins that LeBron believes in, that might be enough to sway the balance for you, because if he intends to make a quick decision, that would be one of the only things that could be solved quickly.
I'm for that, just to see the first time in case he has a meltdown that Jack Nicholson has to react to it.